On the outskirts of a quiet American town stands a house no one dares to enter. To the locals, it's not just abandoned, it's cursed. They call it the Murder House. Decades ago, it belonged to a man named Daniel Wraith. He was a respected neighbor, a church volunteer, even a handyman who fixed fences and roofs for the elderly. But beneath the surface, Daniel Wraith was something else entirely. Between 1979 and 1989, more than a dozen people disappeared in this town. Hitchhikers, teenagers, a family of 3. None were ever found. When police finally raided the house, they discovered a basement unlike anything they had seen before. Bloodstains, rusted chains, personal belongings that matched the missing. And in a locked trunk, hundreds of Polaroid photographs. But here's the strange part. Not every photograph showed the victim. Some showed empty rooms, the attic, the basement, the kitchen, all perfectly framed, as though taken by someone who wasn't there. Daniel Wraith was executed in prison. His house was boarded up. Yet the photos kept appearing. For years, no one dared step inside. But the internet has a way of resurrecting old nightmares. 4 college students, Lisa, Jordan, Marcus, and Alex, decided to film a challenge. 24 hours in the murder house. They wanted views, subscribers, a story to tell. What they got instead was a story no one would believe. They arrived just before midnight. Their car headlights cut through the fog, falling on the rotting front porch. The front door was already open. Inside, the air was heavy with mold and dust. Wallpaper peeled like rotting skin. The wooden floor sagged with every step. They set up their cameras, laughing nervously, trying to mask the unease. "This is just content," Marcus joked. "Like, come on, nothing's gonna happen." But the house was not empty. Somewhere deep inside the walls, it was listening. In the living room, they found their first clue, a dusty bookshelf filled with moldy Bibles, hymn books, and at the very bottom, a leather-bound journal. Lisa opened it. The pages were warped, covered in Daniel Wraith's handwriting. Notes about his neighbors, descriptions of strangers. But every entry ended the same way. "Take the picture." On the final page, a phrase was written again and again until the pen tore through the paper. They belonged to the house. They laughed it off. A killer's diary. Creepy, but expected. Yet, as Lisa flipped through the pages, her camera caught something strange. In the corner of the room, behind Marcus, a figure, just for a split second. Too fast for them to notice, but the lens saw it. They moved deeper into the house. The kitchen looked frozen in time. Plates still sat on the table, layered with dust, but the food on them looked strangely intact. A piece of bread, a slice of meat, a glass of water. Alex leaned closer, shining his flashlight across the plate. The bread was soft. The meat was raw. The glass of water rippled, as though something had just moved beside it. "Okay, that's messed up," Jordan muttered, stepping back. Marcus laughed nervously, trying to play it off, but Lisa kept filming, her camera shaking slightly. On the refrigerator door, magnets still held faded notes, grocery lists, a church schedule, and one Polaroid. Not of a person, not of a family, just the refrigerator itself. The same fridge they were staring at now. Same magnets. Same notes. Taken decades ago. Why would he take this? Lisa whispered. No one answered. They left the kitchen quickly, moving into the hallway. Their footsteps echoed too loudly, as though someone else was walking just a beat behind them. The hallway split into two rooms. One was a bedroom, the other, a nursery. They entered the bedroom first. The bed frame was twisted, the mattress stained with dark patches. A wardrobe leaned against the wall, its doors hanging open, filled with moth-eaten clothes. Marcus pulled a small box from under the bed. Inside were trinkets, jewelry, watches, wallets. All of them tagged with masking tape, each labeled with a name. Names that matched the missing persons from decades ago. Souvenirs, Jordan whispered. His voice cracked. But the nursery was worse. The wallpaper was bright once, yellow with cartoon animals. Now it peeled in long strips, stained with mold. In the corner sat a row of dolls, their glass eyes cracked and milky. Each doll wore a child's clothing. Real clothing. Lisa froze. These aren't toys, she whispered. These belong to them. Suddenly, one of the dolls fell forward on its own. Lisa screamed, dropping her camera for a moment. But when Marcus picked up the doll to prove it was nothing, he found something stuffed inside its body. A photograph, folded. He opened it with shaking hands. It was a Polaroid of the four of them, standing in the nursery, taken only seconds ago. Panic spread through the group. This is a setup, Jordan shouted. Someone's here messing with us. But when they checked the hallway, no one was there. The air grew heavier, harder to breathe. The house was watching. And then, from upstairs, the sound returned. Scratching, slow, deliberate, coming from the attic. The scratching grew louder. At first, it was faint, but with every step they took toward the attic, the sound sharpened, like nails dragging across wood. The door was locked with a heavy chain, but the lock hung open, as if someone wanted them to go inside. Marcus swallowed hard, then pushed the door open. The attic smelled of rot and old wood. Cobwebs hung in thick curtains. In the center of the attic was a rocking chair. It moved back and forth, slowly, creaking in the silence. But no one was sitting in it. Lisa lifted her camera. Through the lens, she could see more than the others. A faint outline. The shape of a man sitting in the chair. Though to the naked eye, the chair was empty. She gasped, lowering the camera. The chair was still rocking, but now the outline was gone. Behind them, something shifted. A shadow moved across the floor, crawling along the walls like liquid darkness. Jordan turned and caught sight of it. His scream broke the silence. The shadow twisted into a hand, a long, bony hand with too many fingers reaching for him. They bolted down the attic stairs, nearly falling over each other. The sound followed them. Scratching, whispering, laughter. But instead of leading them outside, the staircase twisted. At the bottom, they didn't find the front door. They found the basement. The door to the basement gaped open, black and endless. A damp, foul smell poured out. "This doesn't make sense," Marcus whispered. But they had no choice. The house wasn't letting them out. They descended one by one into the dark. The basement was colder, their breath fogged in front of them. Along the walls, shelves were lined with jars, each filled with something cloudy and indistinct. Hands, teeth, eyes, preserved in yellowed fluid. Lisa gagged, Jordan cursed, and then the light caught something worse. A row of videotapes, labeled with names. The same names as the objects in the jars. Marcus picked one up with trembling hands. He slid the tape into a broken player that still sat in the corner. The screen flickered to life. Grainy black and white footage filled the room. It showed the attic, the rocking chair, the four of them standing there, looking terrified. The tape wasn't old. It was recording them right now. The screen buzzed, flickered. The grainy black and white footage changed. The attic disappeared. Now it showed the basement, the jars, the tapes, and the four of them, standing exactly where they stood. Only, in the footage, Jordan wasn't moving. He was lying on the floor, his eyes missing. "Turn it off," Jordan shouted, panicking. But when Marcus hit the eject button, the tape didn't stop. It kept playing. On the shelf, another tape slid forward on its own. This one had Lisa's name on it. Lisa backed away, shaking her head. No, I don't want to see it." The television crackled louder. Static filled the room. The image that came next froze her blood. It showed her standing in front of the jars, hands pressed against the glass from inside, as if something alive was trying to claw out. And then, dozens of pale hands burst through, grabbing her, dragging her screaming into the shelves. Lisa dropped her camera. It shattered on the floor. The sound of glass breaking echoed unnaturally loud, almost like the house itself was laughing. Marcus grabbed her arm, yanking her away from the shelves. "Don't look at it. Don't believe it. It's not real." But even as he said the words, he saw another tape slide out. This one had his name. Marcus froze. He couldn't bring himself to touch it. The television turned on by itself again. This time, there was no grain, no static. The picture was crystal clear. It showed Marcus, right there in the basement, holding a knife. And he wasn't protecting his friends. He was stabbing them. He stumbled back, shaking his head violently. "That's not me. That's not me." But Jordan was staring at him differently now. Distrust in his eyes. Fear. "How do we know it won't happen?" Jordan whispered. The house was splitting them apart, turning them against each other. Suddenly, the power went out. The television went black. The only sound was their breathing in the dark. Then came a whisper. Not from the TV, not from the walls, from right behind them. "You're already mine." They spun around. And for the first time, they saw it. The figure of the killer. Not flesh, not bone, but shadow. A distorted reflection of every photograph, every recording, every piece of pain left behind in this house. It was the house itself, and it was reaching for them. Slowly, inevitably, the air grew heavier. Their flashlights dimmed. The house had shown them their fates. Now, it was ready to claim them. The shadow loomed closer. Each step it took made the floorboards groan, though it wasn't truly touching the ground. The lights in their flashlights sputtered and died one by one, until only Jordan's beam remained. It landed on the jars, and inside, the faces pressed against the glass had changed. They were no longer strangers. They were Marcus, Lisa, Jordan, and Emily. Emily screamed, stumbling backward. "That's us! Oh God, that's us!" The shadow moved between them and the exit. It tilted its head as if studying them, and then it split into 4 shapes, each one stepping toward its chosen victim. Jordan dropped his flashlight and bolted toward the stairs. The others followed, footsteps bounding, hearts racing. The staircase seemed endless. Every step they climbed stretched longer, like the house itself was folding space. And then Marcus's hand slipped. Something yanked him down. His scream cut through the dark. Lisa tried to grab him, but the shadow pulled too fast. His voice echoed once, twice. Then silence. They burst through the basement door and into the living room, gasping for air. For a moment, the house was still. Too still. Jordan turned to the front door. It was right there. He reached for the knob. And it wasn't a door anymore. It was a wall, seamless, as if the door had never existed. Emily dropped to her knees, sobbing. Lisa clawed at the wallpaper until her nails bled. Jordan stared, frozen, whispering to himself, "We're already in the tape. We've been in it this whole time." Behind them, the television clicked on again. No VHS tape, no static, just live footage of the 3 of them sitting in the living room, watching the screen. Lisa screamed and threw a chair at the TV. The screen shattered, and the house went dark. Silence. Total silence. Then, a sound. The faint mechanical click of a VHS tape being inserted. The screen flickered back to life. Black and white footage of the house, empty, silent, waiting. And then words appeared on the screen. "Play me."